Today we're just going to take you out and show you one of the things that a lot of drivers may not be aware of, and that is that car speedos overstate. So when you look at your speedo and you think you're doing a particular speed, more than likely your car is travelling at less than that speed. That has implications for when you're driving on a road with cars behind you who are trying to do the speed limit, and you're driving along oblivious to the fact that you're doing under the limit. So what we've got set up here today is we've got the GPS app on the phone sitting there on the dash right next to the digital display that is set to understate slightly. It's an intentional thing. In Australia it's called ADR 18, and there are some other acronyms used in other countries for exactly the same thing. And what we're trying to do here is make sure that a driver won't inadvertently speed because of an understating speedo. Now ADR 18, Australian Design Rule 18, specifies that a car speedo must not understate, but it can overstate by up to 10% plus 4 kilometres an hour. So what that can mean is that you might be driving along with your speedo displaying 114, and on most roads in Australia, not all, but on most roads, you would be speeding, because in many states the absolute speed limit is 110. There are exceptions, the Ventura 130 on some roads, but if your speedo was displaying 114, it's possible that you might only be doing 100. And if your speedo was displaying 110, maybe you're only doing 97 or something similar. Most car speedos won't be overstating as much as that. What you'll see when we get out on the road here and try a few various speeds, you'll see that there is a discrepancy between the car speedo and the true speed which is being shown by the GPS. So you need to be aware of your car's true speed, otherwise you might be inadvertently causing danger on a country road if you're doing just under the speed limit, and people are going to have to overtake you, and it's going to take them a longer distance to get past you because the speed differentials are only going to be quite small, because maybe you're driving at somewhere between 95 and 100 on a 100k road, or somewhere between 105 and 110 on a 110k road. Most GPS apps are going to be pretty accurate. They're not going to vary very much. If you were going up and down very steep hills, or you were going up some sort of zigzagging road, then yes, that may impact the reading, but this road is reasonably straight and reasonably flat. So again, we're doing 100 now, it's saying 96 on the speedo. So if you were driving along a freeway or maybe a country road that had a speed limit of 100, you might think you're doing the right thing. But when you looked in your mirror, you may find there's a whole trail of cars behind you trying to get past you because they're trying to drive at the speed limit. It may be a perfectly safe road, but there may be a lot of oncoming traffic. So you might think you're doing the right thing, but your ignorance of ADR 18 is causing you to be a danger on the roads. We talked earlier on about the acronyms in other countries. In the US, it's probably something like FMVSS, and in the UK you might be looking at UNECE. So they're the same things, they've just got different acronyms in different countries, but they're essentially meaning the same thing. So here I'm on the freeway, 100 k's speed limit. I'm going to crank this up on the car speedo to about 105. Okay, maybe 104. And we're just going to try and get that GPS to be reading 100. Alright? So true speed of the car is 100. Car is reading 105. That's a 5% overstate. Now, why would cars do that, you might ask? It's because you don't want a car to understate your speed. If you had a car that was telling you were doing 95 when you were actually doing 100, and then you go through a speed camera, you're likely to get flashed and get a nice little invoice in the mail to pay a fine. We don't want that, and so that is why, if anything, they overstate rather than understate. It's also a possibility that the actual circumference of the tyre on the wheel might vary depending on the profile of the tyre you've got fitted. and it can also vary by an insignificant amount depending on your tyre wear. So if you've got a car with very chunky tyres, your total circumference is going to be larger than the same tyre when it's nearing the end of its life. So let's get this thing up to 60. Here we go, 59, 60. We're doing 57. Right? Just crept over slightly. 60, 50, 59, 55, 60, 56. We've reached the end of that road work, so we're back into a 70 zone now. There we are, 70. 70 is showing 66. (66, 67). And you notice I'm creeping over slightly on the car speedo, so let's get it up to 73. And there we are, I'm only just doing the speed limit there on 73. So it has implications for the way you drive. One is that you should know the true speed of your car. And the other thing is too, that if you go through a speed camera and your car speedo is showing slightly over, so you might do some marginal speeding and think that that's going to get you pinged, but in fact you're only just hovering around the limit. Now, it doesn't have any implications for driving tests because the assessors should be using the car speedo. One of the things you can do in your driving test is to switch off the digital speedo. And I'll just do this now. I can remember how to do it. There we go. So now we're just running on an analog speedo only. If the assessor's relying on looking at an analog, they're not going to pick up minor infractions on speeding as readily as they would if you had your digital speedo on. So my recommendation to all drivers all around the world would be know your car's speedo, know your true speed at any particular displayed speed. So for instance, when I drive this car in the country, I would be sitting on probably 115 kilometres an hour on the speedo, possibly 116, and that would be reflective of a true speed of 110. Now if you were doing something like driving across the nullarbor plain of Australia, driving from one side of the country to the other, a journey of between 3,000 and 4,000 kilometres, ignorance of your car's speed could be quite costly in terms of the amount of time it takes you to get from point A to point B. And as I said before, it's also going to cause danger when people come up behind you and you are driving below the speed limit, probably somewhere very close to the speed limit, but just enough below the speed limit to cause frustration for the drivers behind you. And unfortunately, it's a situation that is prevalent worldwide, and it's just ignorance on the part of drivers. They should be aware of this. Okay, so 70 kilometre an hour limit. Going up a bit of a hill. And we're just trying to hold it there on 70. Just about to drop back to 70 in a moment. There we go, 70, 66. So if I was driving along at 70 on a single lane road, I'd be driving at 66 and holding up all the people behind me. If I was to crank this up to about 73, 74, say 73, then I'm doing 70. My true speed is 70. If I drive through a speed camera at 73 on my car speedo, I'll be completely safe. That is assuming that the GPS app that we're using is accurate, and I have no reason to think that it's inaccurate. But the key point is, despite your knowledge of what your car's true speed is, you need to drive to your car's speedo in the driving test, because that's the best information that both you and the assessor have got at the time. Or maybe not the best information, but it's the only information that you've both got. What this means, of course, is that many candidates for driving tests have been failed in their tests in the past for exceeding the speed limit by more than 5 k's an hour, when in fact they weren't. But they're still being failed because they're being assessed on what the speedo says. So when you do your test, as I've said before, just drive to your speedo. Don't use any special knowledge that your car is overstating, because the assessor can't be expected to know that. So 50 on the car speedo, 46, 47 is the true speed of the car. So it's a consistent thing. You've just got to get to know your car, and when the situation requires it, drive your car at the correct true speed rather than the speed being displayed on your speedo. If you get to a passing zone on a country road, an overtaking zone, some of those overtaking zones aren't really long enough for you to overtake a car safely. So you need to be following a safe distance to start with, and then you've got to get past that vehicle. Now that vehicle may be a long vehicle with a long caravan behind it. So by the time you've caught up to that vehicle without exceeding the speed limit and got past it, and then got yourself a safe distance in front before you pull back in, you may well have got to the end of the overtaking zone and not be able to get past. And certainly people behind you would struggle to get past. And this is caused by the fact that people are driving just under the speed limit. They think they're doing the speed limit, they think you've got no right to go past, and so they don't slow down. But it's all caused by ADR 18. So get to know your car, get to know its true speed, and you'll actually be a safer driver. So hopefully you've learnt something today. It's something a lot of drivers don't know about. And I'm not suggesting that you try and implement that for your driving test, but certainly once you get your licence, when you're out there on the roads, be knowledgeable about your car's true speed, and you won't frustrate drivers behind you, and you'll be a safer driver, and you'll make the road safer overall. And tell your friends about it as well, because it's just one of those things that a lot of people are completely oblivious of. Thanks very much for watching, and if you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel and tell your friends about it.